Imagine for a moment you are standing right in the middle of a terrifying battlefield from thousands of years ago. The sound of thousands of clashing swords is all around you. The ground is shaking with the deafening screams of warriors and the pounding of horse hooves. The air is heavy with the smell of dust and blood. In this extreme moment between life and death, suddenly something happened that had never happened before in human history. An impossible event became reality, something that made time itself stand still. The sun, which was slowly dipping in the western sky to set, suddenly froze in place at an invisible signal. Time lost its speed. It was as if the great Lord of the worlds, Allah, commanded the entire laws of the universe, stop. This is not a fairy tale. This is not mythology or a fiction made up by humans. This is a miraculous truth written in golden letters on the pages of human history, which thousands of people witnessed with their own eyes. This is the day when the natural laws of creation paused at the command of their creator and changed the course of history forever. Today we are going to witness that unprecedented moment in history. We will learn why Allah Almighty caused this cosmic wonder, and who was that great leader whose prayer made the sky and earth fall silent. But before entering the depths of this epic event, we must go back to the context, to the time when the nation of Banu Israel was going through a difficult test. The time was about 1,500 years before the birth of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. That holy land of Palestine, where rows of olive trees stretch to the horizon and ancient cities bear witness to the footsteps of thousands of prophets. The nation of Banu Israel, after wandering aimlessly in the Tea Wilderness or the Sinai Desert for 40 long years, finally stood at the doorstep of entering the Promised Land. These 40 years were a difficult test for them, a purification process. But standing at this threshold of victory, they felt a huge emptiness, because their great leader who had rescued them from the magical clutches of Pharaoh, the Kalima Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, was no longer among them. He had responded to the call of his Lord and passed away to the hereafter. He could not see this desired victory. After the passing of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, the nation of Banu Israel became like orphans. A huge uncertainty tried to consume them. But Allah does not leave His servants without a guardian. He chose the capable student, the faithful companion, and a fearless hero of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam as the leader of this nation. He is Hazrat Yusha bin Nun alayhi salam. Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam was no ordinary leader. Since his youth, he had been with Hazrat Musa salam like a shadow. He had seen the Red Sea split with his own eyes. He was a witness to the revelation of the Torah on Mount T, and he had seen the miracle of heavenly food, manna and salwa, in the desert. Now, at the age of 85, a huge responsibility was placed on his shoulders. The responsibility to return the land of Canaan or Palestine to Banu Israel. The holy land that Allah had promised to Hazrat Ibrahim salam was now on his shoulders. But this promised land was not an empty field without people. The Amalekite community and the Jabarin lived there, who were as strong as giants in physical build. The cities there were surrounded by walls of impenetrable stone. The most powerful, fierce, and cruel nations of that era were ruling there. Their soldiers were undefeated on the battlefield. Their weapons were sharp and their self-confidence touched the sky. When they saw the worn-out Banu Israel coming from the desert, they laughed in mockery. They thought this nomadic nation would not last a moment in front of their towering walls and trained army. They thought their forts were impenetrable, their power invincible. But they made a mistake in their calculation. They did not know that Banu Israel was not alone. With them was the Tabut as-Sakina, or the Ark of the Covenant, inside which were kept the tablets of the Torah revealed by Allah, and the holy relics of the prophets, and most importantly with them was the Lord of the universe, Allah Alameen himself. When Hazrat Yusha raised his hands to pray, the sky would tremble and the earth would shake in fear of Allah. With the strength of this belief, They prepared for such an unequal war, which is rare in the history of the world. Under the leadership of Hazrat Yusha Salam, when Banu Israel crossed the Jordan River and stood before the city of Jericho, an incredible scene caught their eyes. Jericho was the most protected city of that time. Its walls were so wide and high that it seemed they touched the clouds. For any ordinary army to climb over these walls and enter the city was an impossible imagination. The inhabitants of the city were mocking Banu Israel from the top of the walls. But Hazrat Yusha did not get disturbed. He knew that this city could not be conquered with conventional sword and spear tactics. He began to wait for Allah's command. And Allah taught him such a battle strategy that is not taught in any military school on earth. Allah ordered that without any arrows or swords, just by taking the name of Allah and maintaining complete silence, they must circle this city. For 6 straight days, Banu Israel circled the city of Jericho completely silently. There were no weapons in their hands, only immense faith in Allah and silent prayers on their lips. The inhabitants of the city became confused. They watched this strange scene from the walls and thought, have these people gone mad? But this silence was the forecast of a storm, the stillness before a great cataclysm. On the 7th day, according to Allah's command, Banu Israel circled the city 7 times. And on the last circle, at the command of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam, they shouted the Takbir Allahu Akbar in unison. At the same time, the horn was blown. That deafening sound was not just human voices. The help of Allah was mixed in it. Within moments, those sky-touching, impenetrable walls of Jericho collapsed like a house of cards. All the resistance of the arrogant Jabbarin mixed with the soil. The whole city was covered in a cloud of dust. The fall of Jericho was the first and biggest victory for Banu Israel in the land of Canaan. This news spread like wildfire across all of Palestine. The surrounding kings began to tremble with fear. They realized that it was not possible to defeat this new power with ordinary weapons because they worshipped such a Lord at whose signal even huge stone walls turned to dust. After conquering Jericho, the confidence of Banu Israel reached its peak. One by one, cities began to surrender to them. But Satan does not sit idle. He provoked the other kings of the land of Canaan to unite. They thought that fighting alone, the army of Hazrat Yusha Salam could not be defeated. So they formed a huge joint army. The kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon, the kings of these 5 powerful kingdoms gathered with all their soldiers. Their goal was one, to destroy the city of Gibeon and wipe out Banu Israel forever. This combined force was massive. Their number of soldiers was countless, looking like a black sea stretching across the horizon. Their plan was very cunning and deadly. They knew that Banu Israel fought well in the daylight, so they chose a time for war that would be advantageous for them. They planned to attack just before sunset, utilizing the dim light of twilight and the approaching darkness. They plotted to trap Banu Israel. When Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam received the news that 5 powerful kings were preparing to attack with their huge armies, he did not delay. He knew that this was not just a war. It was a final battle between truth and falsehood. He traveled a difficult path all night with his soldiers. The soldiers were tired, but in the eyes of their leader was the glow of trust in Allah. As soon as the light of dawn broke, the army of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam pounced on the enemy. The enemy soldiers were not ready for this sudden attack. They thought Banu Israel might not come out of fear. But the speed of the Mujahideen, helped by Allah, was like lightning. A bloody war began. The valley of Gibeon trembled with the clashing of swords and the roar of warriors. But the war continued, hour after hour. Morning turned to noon. Noon turned to afternoon. The intensity of the war did not decrease even a bit. Hazrat Yusha kept fighting like a storm with his soldiers. The enemy army began to retreat. They realized that Banu Israel could not be defeated in face-to-face combat, so they moved towards their secret strategy. They started retreating slowly towards the mountains so that as soon as evening fell, they could attack Banu Israel unexpectedly, taking advantage of the darkness, or escape to take shelter in their forts and gather strength again. The sun in the sky had then tilted to the west. Daylight was decreasing rapidly. Hazrat Yusha Salam looked at the sky. A frown of worry appeared on his forehead. He realized that if the sun set and darkness fell, this opportunity for victory would slip away. In the dark, the enemy soldiers would escape and return later with even greater force. The sun had then touched the very edge of the horizon. The reddish glow of twilight had spread across the sky like a sad farewell note of nature. Just a wait of a few moments, then darkness would consume everything. This is that moment when all human plans and strategies accept defeat before the inevitable laws of nature. Hazrat Yusha understood that it was no longer possible to win this war by normal rules. A storm was raging in his heart. On one side was Allah's promise. On the other side was the setting sun before his eyes. In this critical moment, he took a decision that is beyond the imagination of ordinary humans. He went and stood on the highest mound of the battlefield. Around him, the clashing of swords and the cries of the wounded were still going on, but he seemed above all that, absorbed in deep meditation. He did not put down his blood-stained sword, but his gaze was fixed on the sinking sun. He knew that this sun, this moon, this time everything is Allah's creation and slaves to his command. Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam did not raise his hands to the sky to pray. Rather, he looked directly at the sun and issued a miraculous command. He spoke in a solemn voice. O sun, you stand still over Gibeon, and O moon, you stop over the valley of Ajalon. What incredible courage, what unbreakable faith. A human being is ordering a massive star of creation to stop. He pleaded to Allah, O Allah, this sun is obedient to you, and I am also obedient to you. You hold it back for us. Do not let the night fall until the completion of victory. What had never happened in the billions of years of the universe's history was about to happen in that moment. This plea of Hazrat Yusha was accepted in the court of the owner of the throne. Allah Almighty, who is the creator of gravity, planets, stars and time, decided to temporarily suspend his natural laws. And right then, that great wonder happened. The sun sinking in the western sky suddenly stopped. The sun that is not controlled by any power on earth, which rises and sets by a specific rule every day to day, stood still at the word of its creator, his beloved servant. Shadows that were supposed to get longer froze on the ground. Time seemed to stand still. The clock of eternity stopped its ticking sound. The warriors of the enemy army, who were eagerly waiting for darkness, froze in fear, looking at the sky. There was a look of terror in their eyes. They were thinking, it should have been evening by now. But why is the sun not setting? Why is the light not decreasing? They realized they were not just fighting against humans. They were fighting against such a being at whose signal nature also breaks its own rules. They felt that some superpower of the universe had declared war against them. The dam of their courage broke. The darkness they wanted to use as their shield did not fall. Instead, the harsh light of the sun exposed every one of their hiding places. For Banu Israel, this was a display of unprecedented miraculous power. They saw how the help of their Lord had come down. The fatigue of their bodies vanished in an instant. It was as if 10 times the strength returned to their arms. They realized that Allah Himself was with them. This belief brought a new tide within them. They pounced on the enemy with new enthusiasm. But Allah's help did not end here. When the enemies saw that nature was against them, they started running to save their lives. They tried to escape down the slopes of the mountains, but Allah Almighty had prepared a more terrible punishment for them. The sky did not suddenly cover with black clouds, but a great catastrophe came down from the sky. Allah Almighty started showering huge hailstones on them from the heavens. These were not ordinary hailstones. These were the wrath of Allah, just as the throwing of stones by ababil birds is mentioned in the Holy Quran. Similarly, in this war, heavenly stones began to strike the enemies. Each stone was hitting the enemies with precise aim, those who tried to escape surviving. The swords of Banu Israel were destroyed by the blow of these heavenly stones. Historical accounts say that more enemies were killed by this hailstorm than were killed by the stroke of the sword. Imagine that scene on one side. The sun stands still in the sky. Daylight is not ending. On the other side, a rain of stones is coming down from the sky. The enemies have no place to hide, neither in the darkness of night nor in the caves of the mountains. Every element of nature seems to have declared rebellion against them. King Adoni-Zedek and his 4 companion kings, who had come to fight with so much arrogance, now hid inside a cave like rats in fear of their lives. But who has the power to go outside Allah's plan? Banu Israel found them. The arrogance with which they started the war in the morning mixed with the dust in that prolonged light of the afternoon. For about 24 hours or even more, the sun stood in the same place. In the history of the world, this was the only day that was twice as long as a normal day. Scientists might try to explain this in the language of astronomy, but to believers, this was a great power of the Lord of the worlds. Because of this miraculous event, Banu Israel got the opportunity to completely defeat their enemies. They chased the enemies and captured their forts. No enemy soldier remained who could raise their head in the future. This victory was not just the victory of conquering a territory. It was the victory of Tawheed or monotheism. It proved that for those who rely on Allah, Allah breaks down the walls of the impossible. The war ended. Finally, Hazrat Yusha offered thanks in the court of Allah and signaled again. Then, after standing still for many hours, the sun started to set again at its normal speed. The long-awaited night fell on the valley of Gibeon. But by then, history had changed. By then, Banu Israel had started a new chapter, and they left behind such a story that will be repeated by people until the day of judgment. But a deep question arises here. How was this event possible? What does science say? If the Earth stops its rotation, everything is supposed to be destroyed. Huge tsunamis, earthquakes, and great cataclysms should occur. But why didn't that happen that day? How did nature remain calm without showing its destructive reaction? To uncover the scientific and spiritual mystery of this miraculous event, we must look at the perfect order of the creation of the universe. When Allah breaks a rule, He does so by creating a new rule. This event of the sun stopping raises many questions in our modern scientific minds. Understanding the answers to these questions and the deep wisdom behind them is extremely important for us, because this is not just a war story. It is irrefutable proof of the great Creator's power. Judging this event from the perspective of modern science gives our brains a massive shock. We know that the Earth rotates on its own axis at a speed of about 1,000 km per hour or 1,600 km per hour. Day and night happen because of this intense rotation. Now, the general laws of physics say that if this rotation is suddenly stopped, the result will be more terrible than a nuclear bomb. Due to inertia, everything on Earth, people, trees, ocean water, even huge buildings would be thrown eastward at a speed of 1,000 mph in an instant. The atmosphere would keep rotating, so the wind speed would be faster than a supersonic jet. In this storm, everything on the Earth's surface is supposed to be wiped out. The ocean water would spill from its basin and create a huge tsunami, which would drown the continents. Terrifying earthquakes would start from the collision of tectonic plates. In short, the planet named Earth would turn into a pile of rubble in moments. But on that miraculous day at Gibeon, none of this happened. The sun stopped, but the Earth was not destroyed. People were not thrown off. The sea did not cross its limits, and the wind did not lose its normal speed. Why? How is this possible? Here lies the true definition of a miracle. something that makes humans incapable, something that is above worldly cause and effect. He who is the creator of every atom of this universe, who created the laws of motion, can he not control those laws? When Allah ordered the sun to stop, He did not just stop the Earth's rotation. Rather, at the same time, He temporarily controlled the atmosphere, oceans, gravity, and the laws of inertia. He kept the Earth in a special protective sphere or state of suspension, where the wheel of time stood still without any external disaster. It is somewhat like a fast-moving train. If the train suddenly breaks, passengers fall forward. But if there is technology that can keep the environment inside the train completely separate from the change in speed outside, the passengers won't even realize the train has stopped. The great driver of the universe, Allah Almighty, did exactly that on that day. He stopped the Earth but deactivated the destructive reactions behind it. This event teaches us that natural laws are not a limitation for Allah. These are merely Allah's habit. Fire burns. This is the nature of fire. But this nature is given by Allah. So when Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was thrown into Nimrod's fire, Allah ordered the fire to become cool, and the fire forgot its nature of burning. Similarly, the earth spins. This is its nature. But with the blessing of Hazrat Yusha's prayer, Allah ordered the earth to stop its rotation, and the earth obeyed. Scientists might try to find an explanation with refraction of light or relativity of time. Some say maybe Allah slowed down the speed of light that day, or bent the sun's rays in such a way that the sun remained visible for a long time even after setting. Whatever the explanation, the main truth is, that day, the owner of the heavens and earth silenced the normal course of nature for the victory of His beloved servant. This miraculous event leads us to another deep realization: Allah's absolute authority over time. We humans are slaves to time. We organize our lives based on the hands of the clock. Every one of our tasks, every plan is trapped in the frame of time. We say, "I have no time," or "time is running out." But Allah is the creator of time. He is above time. He can expand time if He wants and compress it if He wants. In the Battle of Gibeon, Allah showed that when a person has a righteous intention and full trust in Allah, Allah increases the blessing of time for him. That extra time for Hazrat Yusha was not just the permanence of the sun. It was a special blessing given by Allah, which proves that when Allah's help comes, no mathematical calculation or formula of physics can be an obstacle there. Now the question is, why was such a big miraculous event caused? Allah could have destroyed the enemies in a moment by sending angels or by some other invisible means, as He did in the Battle of Badr or the Battle of the Trench. Then why such a huge arrangement like stopping the sun? There is deep wisdom behind this. Allah wanted both parties, Banu Israel and their enemies, to see with their own eyes that the call of truth is no ordinary matter. The enemies relied on their large numbers and the setting of the sun. They thought nature would save them. Allah broke that mistake of theirs. He showed the sun you worship as many worship the sun. That sun is also my slave. Without my command, it cannot move a single step. On the other hand, for Banu Israel, this was an extreme test of faith and a subject of learning. They had been prisoners in the chains of slavery for a long time. Inferiority had entered their minds. Allah wanted to take their morale to such a height that they would never fear any superpower in the future. When a nation sees that the sun stops at the word of their leader, the self-confidence of that nation does not remain at the level of ordinary people. They realize they are Allah's chosen army. This event was established as irrefutable proof of the truthfulness of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam's prophethood and leadership. The doubt that was forming in the minds of Banu Israel after Hazrat Musa alayhi salam vanished with this single event. They accepted that Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam was truly the genuine successor of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. But the most educational aspect of this story is still remaining. That is the power of dua supplication and the ultimate form of tawakkul, or reliance on Allah. What was the state of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam's mind when he prayed? Was he hesitant? Did he think, will Allah really stop the sun for me? No, there was not a speck of doubt in his mind. He spoke looking at the sun with such firmness, as if he was certain Allah would keep his word. This yaqeen, or firm belief, this is the believer's biggest weapon. In today's era, when we fall into danger, we become hopeless. We think all paths are closed. But Hazrat Yusha taught us that when all worldly paths close, that is the time for the doors of the sky to open. Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam was such a leader who not only knew how to wield a sword, but was also soaked in tears on the prayer mat. He knew that victory is not at the tip of the sword. Victory comes from the throne of Allah. Every step of his life was obedient to Allah's command. Even on this battlefield, he did not try to show his own heroism. Rather, he became dependent on Allah's help. This event reminds us that when we work for Allah's religion, Allah removes our limitations. Our job is to try, and the result is in Allah's hands. Hazrat Yusha tried his best. He traveled all night, fought all day, and when his capacity ended, only then did Allah reveal his power. Meaning, to get miraculous help, one has to give one's utmost effort first. Just sitting idly and praying does not work. One has to combine action and prayer. This historical event remained a beacon of light for the next generation. In Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, in these three monotheistic religions, references or indications of this event are found. This is not a story of a specific tribe. It is an eternal inspiration for believers. Whenever a believing servant falls into crisis, whenever it seems darkness is consuming everything, the thought of that stationary son of Gibeon will remind him, "My Lord is that Lord who can even stop the speed of time for his servant. My Lord is he who can make the impossible possible." Turning the pages of history, it is seen that this cosmic event is not limited only to religious texts, but amazing proofs of it are hidden in the folklore and records of various ancient civilizations of the world. If you look at the history of ancient China, you will see a mention of a long day during the reign of Emperor Yao, the day the sun was late to set. Again, on the exact opposite side of the world, in the history of the Inca or Aztec civilizations of ancient Mexico, a long night is found, the day the sun was very late to rise. Is this just a coincidence, or are these two different sides of the same event? When the sun stood still in Palestine or the Middle East, creating a long day, naturally, a long night was supposed to be created on the other side of the world. The fact that these isolated records of different civilizations meet at one point strongly supports the historical truth of this event. In the Jewish religion, this event is extremely prestigious. The religious scripture, the Hebrew Bible's book of Joshua, contains a detailed description of this war. It is clearly written there, "The sun stood still over Gibeon, and the moon over the valley of Ajalon. And for about a full day the sun did not set." Jews believe this was a sign of God's special mercy towards Banu Israel. In Christian theology too, this event is seen as a shining example of divine intervention, and in Islam. Although the name of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam is not directly mentioned in the Holy Quran, there is a clear description of this event in the Hadith Sharif. In the Hadith of Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The sun was never held back for any human except bin Nun. When he was going to conquer Bayt al-Maqdis, it was time for Asr prayer. He looked at the sun and said, 'You are commanded by Allah's order, and I am also commanded by Allah's order. O Allah, you hold it back for us.'" This hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam proves that this event is not a fairy tale, but a recognized and proven truth in the eyes of Islam as well. It is an integral part of the miracles of the Anbiya or prophets. This event of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam reminds us of the type of Allah's help towards the prophets. In the time of Hazrat Nuh salam, Allah helped with water. In the time of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, He calmed the fire. In the time of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, He made the sea into a road. And in the time of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam, He subdued the sky and sun. Although the type of each miracle is different, the message is the same. Nature cannot run for a single moment outside the command of its creator. But there is another aspect of this event that is extremely relevant for our current times. That is leadership, or the qualities of leadership. What kind of leader was Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam? He was a student of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. He learned that the main foundation of leadership is patience, courage, and reliance on Allah. When he saw his soldiers were tired, the sun was setting and the enemy was plotting to escape. He did not give up. He did not give a long speech to his soldiers. Rather, he reached out his hands directly to Allah for the solution to the main problem. The biggest quality of a leader is keeping a cool head in times of crisis and making the right decision. At the right time, Hazrat Yusha knew that at this moment, the power of his prayer was needed more than his sword. He utilized his spiritual strength to transform a losing battle into a great victory. In today's world, when we are plagued with various problems, we also need such leadership. Such a leader who will be strong in spiritual power alongside worldly efforts. Who will believe that the source of power is not manpower or money power. The true source of power is Allah. From the life of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam, we can learn that a true believer never becomes a slave to circumstances. Rather, he brings the situation in his favor with Allah's help. Moreover, this event teaches us a new definition of sabr, or patience. Banu Israel wandered in the desert for 40 years. Many of their companions died on the way. But those who had patience, who kept faith in Allah's promise, they were the ones who could finally witness this miraculous victory. Nothing great can be achieved in a hurry. If Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam had hurried or given up and left the battlefield in despair, history could have been different. But he waited until the last moment and kept fighting. This story of the sun stopping teaches us another important lesson, the result of sin and virtue. The inhabitants of the land of Canaan were immersed in sin. They were engaged in shirk, injustice, and obscenity. Allah gave them a long time for correction, but when they crossed the limits, Allah used Banu Israel as a medium for their destruction. Their fall was inevitable. Their high walls, their huge bodies, their powerful weapons, nothing could save them from Allah's punishment. This is a warning for us. If we think our modern technology, our nuclear bombs, or our economic power will save us, then we are living in a fool's paradise. No nation can last long without morality and faith. After this war, Banu Israel settled in their promised land. But Hazrat Yusha warned them. He said, "If you move away from the path of Allah, then Allah will also remove the shadow of His mercy from over you." Sadly, in later times, Banu Israel forgot that warning, and they went astray again. But that day at Gibeon, that longest day, remained forever awake in the treasure chest of their historical memory. It reminded them once the sky had stopped for them. Today, thousands of years later, when we remember that event, what feeling is born in our minds? Will we only be fascinated hearing a miraculous story? Or will we hold the lessons behind it in our own lives? Many moments come in our lives too, when it seems the sun is setting, darkness is thickening, and there is no hope. Then we must remember that unshakable faith of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam. We too must say from the depth of our hearts, "O Allah, remove this darkness from my life. Hold back the sun of your mercy for me too." At this stage of the story, we are realizing that this is not just a dead chapter of past history, it is alive, eternal, and everlasting. There is a Gibeon in every believer's life, where he has to fight, where he has to look towards Allah to make the impossible possible. Hazrat Yusha Salam showed us that path. He taught us how to bring down help from the heavens, standing on the earth and ground. Looking at that valley of Gibeon today, perhaps we will only see grey hills and rocky land. The dust of thousands of years has wiped away all signs of that war. There are no broken swords there now, no remains of warriors. But if you lend an ear to the wind, the echo of that miraculous moment can still be heard. This land, this Palestine, is no ordinary land. It is such a soil where the marks of prostration of prophets are attached. This is that holy land where the connection between the sky and the earth is most intimate. That miracle of Hazrat Yusha bin Nun alayhi salam has made this soil even more holy, more glorious. This event is not just a history of a victory. Rather, it is an eternal witness to the spiritual importance of this region. Thinking a little deeply, it is seen that this miracle was an extreme slap against shirk, or partnership with God. The inhabitants of Canaan and most nations of that time were nature worshippers. Many of them considered the sun as a god. They worshipped the sun. They believed the sun was the source of power. The sun was the controller of their destiny. But Allah Almighty made that very sun subject to the command of one of His prophets, a human being. This was an axe blow to the root of those polytheists' beliefs. They saw that their so-called sun god stood still at the signal of a man of clay. Their God did not come to save them. Instead, it became the cause of their defeat. This psychological defeat was more terrible than the war of swords. Allah proves the truth of the truth in this way. He exposes the hollowness of falsehood in such a way that falsehood finds no strength to raise its head again. Looking at Islamic tradition, we see that this event has a deep connection with our daily worship. According to Hadith, the sun was about to set, and there was a fear that the Asr prayer of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam would be missed qada. He then prayed to Allah so that the sun does not set until the prayer was finished and victory was achieved. From here we can realize the importance of prayer. Standing on the battlefield of jihad at the junction of life and death, the Prophet of Allah did not forget prayer. He stopped the sun but did not leave prayer. This event teaches us that no matter how big the worldly busyness or crisis is, the thread of our relationship with Allah can never be torn. Rather, in times of crisis, this relationship is our only shield. We modern humans leave prayer on slight excuses, whereas prophets stopped the sun standing on the battlefield just to offer prostration. This story brings us face to face with another important truth. That is the truthfulness of Allah's promise. Allah promised Hazrat Musa alayhi salam that Banu Israel would enter the Holy Land. It did not happen in the lifetime of Hazrat Musa salam. But Allah's promise did not go in vain. It was a little late. Leadership changed, generations changed, but Allah's word came true. The nation that refused to fight 40 years ago due to cowardice, the next generation of that same nation shook the world under the leadership of Hazrat Yusha salam. This proves when Allah writes victory in the fate of a nation, it will come. But the condition is that nation has to become worthy. When Banu Israel corrected themselves when they picked up the sword without laziness, even after seeing the miracle, only then did victory come, looking at the condition of Palestine and the Muslim Ummah. In today's context, this history of Hazrat Yusha can light a lamp of hope in our chests. Many of us are immersed in despair. We are thinking there is only darkness all around. There is no way of liberation. But history witnesses the deeper the night, the closer the morning. Banu Israel were also slaves in Egypt. They were also homeless in the desert. But due to faith and correct leadership, they one day sat on the seats of rulers. That sun of Gibeon is the same sun today. That sky is the same sky today. And that Lord, who accepted the prayer of Hazrat Yusha salam, is alive today, eternal today. The change is only in our faith, in our actions. If we can stand with firmness like Hazrat Yusha, then Allah's help will come down for us too, whether by stopping the sun or by some other means. Moreover, this miraculous event teaches us that science and religion are not opponents of each other, but complementary. What modern science is discovering is merely the uncovering of the mystery of Allah's creation. In the era of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam, people did not know whether the earth rotates or the sun rotates. They just saw the sun standing still. Today we know how huge the cosmic complexity behind this is, and this knowledge increases our respect for Allah's power even more. When we think how great an engineer Allah is, who can control this huge constellation at a moment's notice, our heads automatically bow down in prostration. Even after the departure of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam, the impact of this event survived for many centuries. The subsequent kings of Banu Israel, like Hazrat Dawood salam and Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam, also built a vast empire in Jerusalem, standing on the foundation of this victory. The beginning of that golden age was on that longest day of Gibeon. Therefore, an event of a single day, a prayer of a single moment, can determine the course of thousands of years of history. We do not know which of our prayers Allah will accept, which of our efforts will open the path of victory for the next generation. So without worrying about the result, we have to keep working. Hazrat Yusha did not know if the sun would stop or not. He just did his part asking Allah, and the rest was Allah's will. Now we have reached the end of the story. But before finishing, one thing needs to be etched in our hearts. In this whole event, Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam was not alone. With him was a group of dedicated followers. Those ordinary soldiers who fought with fearless hearts at the leader's command are also partners in this victory. When they saw the sun was not setting, they did not run away in fear. They did not sit with hands folded in shock seeing the miracle. Rather, they fought with double enthusiasm. This teaches us the power of teamwork or unity, no matter how strong the leader is. If the followers are not faithful, victory does not come. This united effort of Hazrat Yusha and his people was one of the reasons for Allah's help coming down. The conclusion of this historical war was not just conquering a territory. It was the establishment of an ideal. That ideal is there is no deity but Allah, and there is no limit to His power. The hills of Gibeon are silent today. Maybe someone else's settlement is in the valley of Ajalon today. But the words of that prayer floating in the ether are still alive today. In some corner of space, the memory of that time is still preserved. And whenever a believing servant looks at the sky falling into crisis, that memory gives him courage. Finally, that longest day came to an end. The sun that stood still at Allah's command slowly faded into the western horizon. The peaceful silence of night descended on the valley of Gibeon. But this night was not like other nights. It was a night of victory. It was a night of gratitude. The star-filled sky seemed to be twinkling and smiling at Banu Israel that day, testifying that for travelers on the path of truth, nothing in the universe is impossible. Hazrat Yusha bin Nun alayhi salam sheathed his bloodied sword, but the peace in his heart was incomparable. He was able to protect the trust given by his teacher, Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. He fulfilled Allah's promise. After this event, he lived for many more years. He established justice among Banu Israel and conducted governance according to Allah's book. But as the greatest achievement of his life, that moment remains forever shining on the pages of history when he challenged the speed of time. After his passing, he was buried in a place called Timnath Serah in the mountains of Ephraim. Today his grave might be out of sight of ordinary people, but the lesson he left behind is still alive in the heart of every believing human. Now, coming to the end of this story, we need to look at our own faces in the mirror. We who live in this 21st century are our lives very different. There is a Gibeon in each of our lives. In front of each of us stands an impenetrable Jericho wall. Sometimes it is the wall of poverty, sometimes the wall of illness, and sometimes the wall of oppression. Moments come in our lives too when it seems the sun is setting. There is no more time in hand. Defeat is certain. Career pressure, family unrest, or the difficult test of practicing religion. All combined, we become bewildered. Exactly at that moment, we must remember Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam. We must remember he in whose hand are the hands of our clock. The key to our life is also in his hand. When we say in despair, I have no other way, then Allah smiles and says, my kun fayakun be, and it becomes is still remaining. If Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam had been afraid looking at the sun, if he had thought breaking the laws of nature is impossible, then he would have been defeated. But he believed the owner of the rules is bigger than the rules. We have to bring back that belief come from today. Let us change the way of our prayer. Let us not limit our demands by asking Allah for small things. Allah is that being who can give the universe. We will ask him to make the impossible possible. We will want him not to let the sun of hope in our lives set. We will want him not to let the light of our faith extinguish. When you stand on the prayer mat, think you are standing in front of that Lord who stopped time for Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam. Can 2 drops of tears from your eyes not overflow the river of his mercy? Certainly they can. Before ending this video, one thing must be said. History is not just for listening. It is for creating history by taking lessons from history. If this miraculous story of Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam has shaken your heart even a little bit, then understand your faith is still fresh. We have to walk the path with that fresh faith. The world will change, time will change, but the victory of truth is inevitable. Maybe today darkness surrounds us, but remember the sun does not set. Without the command of its owner, our sun of victory will also one day stand still in the mid-sky by Allah's command. Inshallah. Thank you very much for staying with us on this thrilling journey through history for so long. We have tried to portray this great event in the light of the Holy Quran, Hadith, and historical information. If you like this video, if it has strengthened your belief even a little, then our hard work is successful. Spread this message of truth among your friends and family so that they too can know about our golden past. Who knows? Maybe because of one share of yours, some depressed human will find a new dream to live. Let us all pray together to Allah. O Lord of the universe, just as you sent heavenly help for your Prophet Hazrat Yusha alayhi salam, exactly in that way, send your invisible help in our personal lives and in the critical times of the Muslim Ummah. Make our faith steadfast like a mountain and grant us Jannatul Firdaus as our final destination. Ameen. See you in the next video with some new amazing chapter of history. Until then, stay well, stay healthy, and remain steadfast on the path of truth.